Hi everyone, my name is Emily with Nexus Youth and Family Services, and today we'll be talking about what it means to let go and find peace. So we'll start with this quote: "Peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is rather than as you think it should be." Wayne Dyer. So before we talk about how to let go, we'll start with what we can let go of. So things that we can't control, such as other people and their behavior, other people and their feelings, our past, our future, other people's past and their future. And let's also start with talking about what peace is. So peace is an inner sense of calm, even when life is feeling uncertain or difficult or out of control. Peace is not trying to convince ourselves to feel differently, suppressing our emotions, or feeling happy all the time. Sometimes it can be easy to think that peace means we have to be happy all the time, and it doesn't mean that. We can have sadness and uncomfortable feelings while having peace. And it doesn't mean shaming ourselves if we're not happy, liking ourselves all the time, and peace also doesn't mean that we're giving up on a situation. Some barriers to peace, we have our automatic thought patterns, our automatic behavior responses, the fight, flight, or freeze response, and if our immediate needs aren't met, if we're hungry, if we're tired, it's hard to find that peace. So let's talk about the fight, flight, and freeze response. So this is something that our brain does to protect us when we're faced with immediate danger. So if you're being chased by a bear, and this system is very helpful in that sort of life or death situation, but it can become a barrier to peace when it's causing us to worry and be anxious about something that's out of our control. So this cycle starts when the brain perceives a threat. So again, the keyword is perceives. It might not be a true threat to our safety, but the brain is responding to it in that way. So the brain perceives a threat, and then it releases stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And so when these hormones are released, our body is getting ready for action. And then less blood is flowing to our organs like the brain, and more blood is going to limbs. So we're ready to fight or run or freeze. And then this means that because our brain is getting less blood, less oxygen, our prefrontal cortex, which is the reasoning and logic center of our brain, it goes offline. So it's not really working as much as it typically would. So this means we're not able to have much reasoning or much logical thought in these kinds of moments. And so because of that, we're more likely to act impulsively or act in ways that we don't want to react. But that's how what our body is supposed to do in these types of situations. An example scenario might be falling. Falling can be very distressing, and it can trigger the fight, flight, or freeze response. And because of that, we might not be responding to a fall in a logical way. We might react in a way that we don't want to, but our fight, flight, freeze is triggered. And so it's really important to give ourselves grace and understanding when we don't respond quite how we want to, because we have to, give ourselves grace because our body is responding to try to protect us as best as it can. And we'll talk about some more ways that we can calm this fight, flight, freeze response and be able to find more peace. So what does peace look like? Some different aspects of peace. Calmness, it's helping our nervous system feel safe. Curiosity means pausing to learn more before we jump to conclusions. Self-acceptance, learning to accept and be compassionate toward ourselves. And we have presence, which means noticing the present moment before we try and change it. So we'll go a little bit deeper into each of those. First, we have calm. So we're helping our nervous system feel safe. So the nervous system is responsible for processing the sensory information. So in other words, it's helping us make sense of the world around us. And it forms our perceptions, which involves the fight, flight, freeze response. When our brain perceives a threat, fight, flight, freeze happens. And so we can help the system feel calm, and we can help calm down our fight, flight, freeze by slowing down. So some ways to do this are deep breathing. So taking in a very deep inhale, holding it for a couple seconds, breathing it out, holding that, and repeating. And there's many other breathing exercises besides that. If you don't like that one, we'll give you some apps at the end that have a lot of breathing exercises and tutorials, so you can try different types. And then going outside, any movement outside especially, and then reaching out to our support system, getting that connection. These are all ways that we can help regulate our nervous system. Curiosity, so we're pausing to learn more before we jump to conclusions. And so once we can pause, we're working on having that inner calm that we talked about. We can start to become curious about our experiences and the experiences of people around us. So instead of being judgmental towards ourselves for feeling some type of way, we can actually start to be curious about the feeling and where it's coming from. And then similarly, instead of jumping to conclusions about what other people are doing, what their motives are, we can slow down and become curious about what they're doing and why they're doing it. So maybe it means instead of internalizing what other people do and thinking that they're intentionally trying to hurt us, sometimes maybe there's another explanation, but we won't know unless we can slow down and become curious about it. And then asking questions, we're being open to different perspectives and learning more, and then trying something different. We're helping to keep our brain flexible and curious. And then when we also slow down and have that curiosity to try and understand how someone else is feeling, that can help us let go of emotional weight we might be carrying that doesn't belong to us. So again, maybe the things that other people do aren't personal, and we don't have to carry that. Next, we have self-acceptance. So we're choosing to accept and be compassionate towards ourselves. So we can do this in a number of ways. Some are journaling, reflecting, observing. And so self-compassion, this looks like being kind to ourselves in the way we're kind to other people, giving ourselves the grace we give other people. And then it also means when we're noticing negative self-talk come up, we can gently redirect ourselves to more compassionate words. Treating yourself like a friend, how you would treat a good friend. And then for self-care, it's important for us to have awareness of our mind and body to know what we need specifically, and we'll talk more about that. So next we have presence, and this means noticing the present moment before trying to change it. So it's accepting life as it is, how it is right now, instead of what we wish it could be or wish it was. So this means we're not resisting, we're accepting it as it is. And it doesn't mean we approve or that we want it to stay how it is, but it just means we're choosing to accept reality. And so an example might be, an adult child is making choices we don't approve of, we don't agree with. And so instead of, trying to fight, eventually we might need to accept that those are the choices being made. And once we can accept that, then we can have creativity and curiosity and be open to what we want the future to look like, what boundaries we might want to set, how we want things to look going forward. But we have to first accept things the way they are. And then we have mindfulness. So mindfulness is similar to peace in that it's something we can return to day, throughout the day. It's not a one and done achievement. It's more of a state that we can return to. So it means we're slowing down and paying attention to the world around us. And we can start really simple with this, like just noticing how many sounds you hear in the room, or having a meal and not having any distractions, just paying attention to the different tastes. And then self-awareness, this means knowing our triggers, knowing how to address them, and then also knowing what helps when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling sad, And part of this is being able to notice and be aware of things that come up for us in the moment. So, oh, I'm feeling my shoulders tensing. I know that means I'm getting really stressed. I'm going to do a mindfulness exercise to calm down. So, a little moment for reflection. Which of these, out of calm, curiosity, self acceptance, and presence, do you feel like is strongest for you already? And what has helped you get there? What has helped you strengthen that? And then, which one feels the most challenging? And do you think there's anything you could do, one small step today that could help improve it? So then we'll talk about some practical strategies for peace. The first one, we have a body scan. So a body scan is typically 1 minute, but you can do it longer, shorter, whatever works. And so this is just 1 minute to internally scan our body for tension. So this really helps with being present and self-aware. So typically with a body scan, you close your eyes, and for about a minute, just do a scan from your head to your toes, and you're scanning just to notice any sensations. And we're not judging, interpreting. If your brain does start to judge or interpret or get distracted, just gently guide it back to what you're feeling in your body. And, taking deep breaths, just noticing. And then a mindful walk. This is another really easy one to start incorporating. And it's also a way to connect with nature. So you're going on an intentional walk to notice sounds, sights, smells, everything around you. And this is a really helpful way to start teaching our brain to be mindful, to be aware. And then we have practicing self-care. So like we said before, self-care is very individual, and it might look different from one person to another, and it might also look different from day to day. So one day it might be taking a bath, another day it might be, running an errand that we've been putting off. But it's about knowing what you need on that day. And then journal gratitude, another really easy, simple practice, but just jotting down, even if it's quickly writing it in your phone, having a notepad where you just write down things that pop into your head about things you're grateful for. And again, it's not that we're ignoring the hard things or pretending things are fine. We're just teaching our brain to be more on the lookout and more aware of the positive things and what is going well in our life. So in summary, sometimes the immediate reactions we have to situations aren't quite how we want to respond. That fight, flight, freeze kicks in. But when we can let go of what we can't control and start finding internal peace, we can have more choice about how we respond in those situations instead of only reacting out of fight, flight, freeze or old patterns, or anxiety, all those things. And calm, curiosity, self-acceptance, and presence all help us develop internal peace and help us let go of what we can't change. And I also want to say that all of these things are a work in progress, and they take it takes time, it takes intention. So, it's important for us to be patient with ourselves, and it's not about a should, but it's about choosing things that we know will benefit us and bring us peace and health. So then a few really helpful apps, Headspace, Calm, and Happier Meditation. They all have different types of meditations. I know Calm has a lot of sleep meditations. Headspace has mindfulness walk, like a podcast you can listen to that will kind of talk you through taking a mindful walk. Those are both amazing. And then Happier Meditation was started by someone who was originally very skeptical of meditation and mindfulness. So if you're like that, then this would be a really great app for you because it's designed for other people who are also skeptical. And then some more resources: Mental Health America, Suicide and Crisis Hotline, Amador County Behavioral Health, How We Feel app, the Mental Health Coalition, Psychology Tools, and of course Nexus. And then surveys. This is super helpful if you can take those. And that's it. Thank you.